Well, I don't know how it has happened, but it seems like all of this election talk has taken our eye off a couple of things going on in the real world. For example, Iran. Have you heard a politician talk about them lately? They've been pretty much forgotten about by the politicians and the media, and Iran has just made some noise by threatening U.S. Navy ships in the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend. This is spooky stuff. Listen to this. According to the reports, 5 Iranian speedboats approached the Navy ships in a hostile manner. They dropped these white boxes into the water, which I don't know what was in those. Reportedly, they issued a radio transmission saying, quote, "I am coming at you, and I will explode in a couple of minutes." Fortunately, the Iranian boats turned away before shots were fired. But with President Bush's trip to the Middle East this Wednesday and the threats that we've been seeing now on the internet, this is a reminder that Iran will not go away quietly. But of course, you can't talk about Iran without talking about oil as well. 20% of the world's supply passes through that strait, the Strait of Hormuz. And with prices already near $100, Middle East tensions are only good for, well, the Middle East, quite frankly, and people who are in the oil business. Our economy seems to be having a tough enough time as it is. Are we really prepared to handle an oil shock on top of everything else that we're facing? I don't think so. Peter Schiff is the president of Euro Pacific Capital and author of Crash Proof, How to Profit from the Coming Economic Collapse. Peter, are you amazed that you're not seeing any of these politicians really talk about what is at least possibly right around the corner?
Well, because they don't understand it. I mean, you know, with the exception...
Peter, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. These people have smart people all around them. If a recovering alcoholic former DJ can get this stuff, these guys certainly can.
Look, don't sell yourself short. I deal with these people on Wall Street all the time, and believe me, most of them are clueless. You know, they don't understand that the reason oil prices are rising is because we're creating inflation. When the Federal Reserve prints new money and we spend it into circulation to pay for things like the war in Iraq, the dollar loses value and prices rise.
But how do you not understand that when the Saudis themselves said we are going to peg the price of oil to the dollar?
Yeah,
I mean, they've announced that.
Look, and you can tell if you look at gold, in 1970, oil was $3 a barrel and gold was $35 an ounce. In the last 38 years, the price of oil has only risen by 20% in terms of gold, meaning that if we were on the gold standard and had honest money, oil right now would cost $3.60 a barrel. The reason it costs 95 cents a barrel is because all the inflation that the government has created over the last 38 years. And the problem is, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you saw this. It was buried, I believe I read this on Christmas Eve. 4 of the world's biggest economists came out and said, in a nutshell, one of them was actually quoted as saying that 1929 will look like a walk in the park. More and more people are now starting to ring the bell and say what you've been saying for a while, and that is, buckle up, gang, here it comes.
Well, here's the problem. The initial collapse that we're going to see following the bursting of both the stock market and the housing bubbles is going to be bigger, I think, than the crash in 1929 as far as its immediate effects. But whether or not we have another 1930s-style depression is a function of what the government does. Because remember, the Federal Reserve created the bubble in the 1920s, but then it was bad policies by Hoover and Roosevelt that created the depression. And I'm afraid that our politicians, who know even less than the politicians did in the 1930s, unfortunately, they're going to be in a position to potentially, turn this into a depression.
Peter, they're already doing it. Listen to what they're talking about. They're all talking about spending more and becoming a bigger socialist government.
The bigger difference, though, is in the 1930s, our money gained value. Consumer prices fell. This time around, this time around, we can have hyperinflation. While we have a depression.
Help me out on this, because for the life of me, I read this story, and maybe the medication that I'm on had made it very difficult for me to understand this. I tried to figure out, Jim Cramer was on the show about 3 weeks ago, and he said, Glenn, here's what you have to watch for. Watch for bad job postings. Well, we just had a bad job posting, but for the life of me, I can't figure out what it means. Well, he said, Glenn, you got to look for 150,000 jobs lost in a couple of times in a row. Well, we just had 484,000 gone but yet the story said we added 18,000.
Yeah, you know, it's government accounting, but, you know, looking at jobs is like driving, looking in the rearview mirror. The job losses are all going to come, but they're going to come but it'll be too late to do anything because, you know, as consumers see their home equity evaporate, as their arms reset higher, as they're paying more money for food, more money for energy, and everything else, consumer spending is going to fall off the edge of a cliff, and people are going to lose their jobs. There's no way around it.
Then be a Kreskin for me here. I've only got 30 seconds. Tell me the one thing, because I've got a lot of naysayers in this audience. I am not one. Tell me the one thing that you'll say, then watch for this because this is coming. And when it does, you better buckle up.
Well, I think people need to buckle up now. But if you want to know when this is going to turn into a real crisis, it's going to be when you see the Treasury bond market tumble and the bubble in the bond market burst, and then you see bonds and the stock market and the dollar all going down together. When that finally starts to happen, then I think
How far away are we from seeing the bond market go down?
I don't know. I mean, it's already overdue. It's a huge bubble. And, you know, but I think you got to prepare in advance. If you wait for that to happen, it's going to be too late to do anything about it.
All right, Peter, thank you very much. Now, coming up.